So Darvish is interesting because you see his glove side right here, it's matching his lower, his lead leg. And in the industry, we call this kind of like a swinging gait lead leg. It's funny, it's like when I first came up, when I was 18, I had that very similar kind of action there. And that got taken away because they thought that I was being too rotational and not enough directional, that my rotational energy, if you will, was gonna cause me to have fly out issues. So that quickly got taken away and they tried to get everything more linear. But the reason why I like watching Darvish is because he's not that. He actually does such a good job, as we'll see, of creating the ground energy and absorbing that ground energy and utilizing the ground energy as a directional energy towards his target, but also how he uses his rotational energy towards his target as well. So again, this is all going to come down to positioning or timing and positioning. So we see here, glove side is actually going to aid into some counter rotation of his trunk, but I want you guys to notice, especially in this particular view, how nothing really happens with his upper body. Okay, so we see a little bit of the angle of like what we call like the bow and arrow effect, where we have this long extended glove side, and then we have this compacted hand arm action right back here. All right, so we're gonna see that a little bit better in the other angles, but we see that here. And now as he's gonna fold in the glove side, this angle you can see it, but the other angles you're gonna see it well. His hands from both are gonna fold inward, okay, in connection, right? We talk about connection and disconnection. They're gonna fold in to connect to his body and not go out, right? They're not gonna get extended, especially the throwing hand. It's not gonna disconnect from the body. And now this is where you're gonna see the actual arm action start to work and do what it needs to do. It's gonna get into its retraction. As the glove side's also going to get into the retraction here. The hand's going to fold seconds before touchdown. Boom, there we go. This is where we start seeing the biomechanic efficiency of equal opposite, from once was down and up to now down and up from the front and the back. And then boom, you anchor down. So it's funny, right? Because we anchor down, and at this point, at anchor point, this is where the magic happens, okay? So exactly what I was referring to in regards to timing and positioning, and just position your upper body accordingly to absorb that energy that you've produced from the lower side. So that's exactly it. In regards to, like we talk about the velocity enhancing move, to position yourself accordingly with your upper body mechanics means when we anchor down and we talk about with the lower body, we want that hip into rotation. Gravity is going to influence that hip to complete the rotation. Then that's going to influence, by positioning accordingly with the lower body, that's going to influence the lead leg to block and send that energy up. Now, this is where it becomes crucial that we're in the right position with our upper body. We're in the right position with our glove side, we're in the right position with our trunk, and we're in the right position with our arm. Meaning we want to be inside 90 with our hand, we want to be equal opposite, or at least I like to kind of teach that because I think it's a really good starting point, and we want our trunk neutral. This way, by doing this, now we can absorb that energy, and as you'll see with Darvish, now we can influence that completion of the hip rotation from gravity is going to accelerate the trunk into rotation. The trunk's gonna, since the trunk has been neutral this time, it's gonna allow the trunk to accelerate fully, which is gonna accelerate and pull the arm through the zone, allowing the arm to get into a greater extent, or to a greater layback, external rotation. And now what you're going to see Darvish do extremely well, let's check it out, is what I mentioned with that rotational energy is going to now all become directional energy by the way that his trunk works, right? So his trunk's going to rotate and then flex, right? So trunk rotation, trunk flexion is going to pull the arm forward into extension. This is where we see like the breakdown. We talk about the breakdown of like early launch, usually stemming from the trunk not being in a good position to influence the arm into a greater rate of acceleration. So you also see here connection with that glove side, and now we start the deceleration pattern. You're going to see the arm angle match, so the plane of rotation match, the plane of deceleration matches the plane of acceleration. And now his trunk rotation allows him to buy more time for his arm to decelerate, right? And so now, like I said in the beginning, what appears to be like, oh, he's going to be too rotational, might pull off, does a really good job of folding that glove side and now taking his rotational energy, taking his ground energy all to the desired target, which is home plate. And he doesn't spin off. He does a really good job of holding glove side connection, which forces him to stay locked in on that lane. If you picture the lane going forward towards home plate, that glove side allows him to stay in a position in which he's not over rotating with his trunk. Let's talk about glove side fly out, how that could influence like over trunk rotation. So really good angle there, obviously. And then this just kind of helps even